In 1749, Sutton was granted, under its original name of Perrystown, to Obadiah Perry and 54 other original town proprietors. Perry was a member of the 1752 crew that cleared the first road in town, which entered Perrystown from the south, a bit to the west of today's Birch Hill Road, and ended right at the Meetinghouse spot in South Sutton, at the foot of what became known as Meetinghouse Hill. As the first settlers began arriving in town in 1770, South Sutton was the intersection point of the only two roads that had been cleared or marked out, including the well-traveled Province Road, for years the only long-distance route through the region. A meeting house was raised on this spot by 1797. Old Home Day dates back to the end of the 19th century as an idea to address the declining population throughout the state and invite former residents home. Sutton was no exception. As recorded in the 1820 census, Sutton's population was 1,573. By the 1960 census, it had dropped to 487. South Sutton, Sutton Mills, and North Sutton are all rich in historical buildings simply because the growing town's importance began to fade with its loss of population in the second quarter of the 19th century. People moved away, but the buildings they had raised persisted. Few New Hampshire towns remain much the same as they were well over a century ago. The South Sutton village of today would be comfortably familiar to its earlier residents were they to return to celebrate the Old Home Day tradition. The venerable buildings, the broad vistas of the Lane River meadows, and the looming backdrop of Meetinghouse Hill generate a timeless familiarity and comfort that we are fortunate to enjoy today. The Sutton Old Home Day tradition has taken many forms through the years, from band concerts to ball games, picnics to parties, often taking place at Wadley Park in North Sutton on the shores of Keezer Lake. Old Home Day services in the South Sutton Meeting House began about 1940 and have continued to this day. Today, we proudly honor the Sutton Old Home Day tradition with this virtual tribute, complete with costumes and customs.
Old Home Day was created by New Hampshire Governor Frank West Rollins. Throughout much of the 19th century, New Hampshire farming towns were losing population. Our people were being lured away to build the rest of our growing country. The state government was in debt, as well as 3/4 of the New Hampshire towns. In 1897, the soon-to-be Governor Rollins wrote, quote, "I wish that in the ear of every son and daughter of New Hampshire in the summer days might be heard the persuasive words, 'Come back, come back. Do you not hear the call? What has become of the old home where you were born? Do you not remember it? The old farm back among the hills with its rambling buildings, its well-sweep casting its long shadows, the row of stiff poplar trees, lilacs, and willows?'" Rollins' goal was to have all native-born, or as many as possible, return and purchase the many abandoned farms and homes in the state for use as summer homes. He wanted them to donate money to improve the libraries and the meeting houses. He rallied others to this idea and created the concept of Old Home Day.
This is our call to worship. Let's do it together. This is the day that the Lord hath made, that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice, and be glad in it, be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord hath made.
Faith of our fathers, so
Oyez, oyez, oyez. The state of New Hampshire, by His Excellency Christopher T. Sununu, Governor, a commendation. In the year of our Lord 2020, Sutton Old Home Day, August 23rd, 2020. Whereas the town of Sutton is celebrating its 106th annual Old Home Day on August 23rd, 2020. Whereas the town of Sutton was incorporated in 1784 and is home to approximately 1,848 of New Hampshire citizens, and whereas the town's 36 square miles was made up of rolling hills, picturesque views, streams, ponds, and lakes, which makes it a beautiful place for citizens and visitors alike, and whereas Old Home Week is traditionally established to invite former residents back to their hometown to visit and celebrate their roots, heritage, friendships, and whereas Sutton has been a beautiful home for many citizens and recognizes the importance of celebrating the heritage of the town, and whereas many of Sutton's citizens have gone on to become important leaders in politics, education, industry throughout New Hampshire and the nation, a justice of pride for the town. Now therefore I, Christopher T. Sununu, Governor of the state of New Hampshire, do hereby commend the town of Sutton for celebrating its 106th Old Home Day. In testimony thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the state of New Hampshire to be affixed this 23rd day of July, 2020.
The good news is that we get to do this sermon together. We begin by listening to my son Alan sing and play this song, Tikkun Olam, which means in Hebrew, repairing the world. And then, following some background words, we'll sing this song together.
Tikkun Olam, we can answer prayer. Tikkun Olam, with help and hope to share. Tikkun Olam, working to repair the world.
First of all, you need to know about my Jewish heritage, which gives me the right to sing the song. The high school that I attended was in University City, a suburb of St. Louis. It was about 85% Jewish. But what really sealed my right to sing this Jewish song is that I dated the rabbi's daughters, Ruth and Naomi. Tikkun Olam, the Hebrew word meaning repair the world, is a marvelous statement of the Jew's responsibility for himself and his neighbor. This is our world in desperate need of repair. With economic disparity, with food poverty, insecurity, with recent marches and demonstrations saying Black Lives Matter, in policing, in education, housing, unemployment, healthcare, incarceration, and climate change. Now is the time to do something about it, to deal with 400 years of discrimination and subjugation and white supremacy and a dehumanizing of people of color. From the long history of slavery and the emancipation and the civil rights movement and Jim Crow and lynchings and today's voter suppression and still redlining and unfair hiring practices in business and sports and government. America's original sin. Lots of statements lots of intent, lots of token actions. But these days, something has to be different. Blacks and whites, people of color, and people in power were talking together about a new world in the United States and practical, immediate steps that can turn our nation around. What can we do to repair the world? We have to begin by repairing the world within ourselves. And we have a marvelous, familiar story from the Gospel of Luke to guide us. A certain man had two sons, and the younger one said to his father, "Give me the portion of goods that falleth to me." In other words, my inheritance. And not many days after, the younger son took off for a far country and wasted his substance in riotous living, drugs, gambling, prostitutes. Soon there was a famine in the land. The son was without food and employment. He found a farmer who let him feed pigs and eat his meals there. And he turned his back on his religious training as a faithful Jew. Then the scriptures say, at this point, he came to himself. In other words, he began to realize what a fool he was. The rest of the story is a happy ending. He's returned home, he's welcoming, his forgiving father, and a great celebration takes place. But all this joy and a new life could never have happened without the prodigal son who came to himself. So the first challenge for all of us in repairing the world, in building a new nation where justice and equality and love become our driving forces, our first challenge is coming to ourselves, discovering our authentic selves, dealing with our own prejudices, even racism, and that's the lifetime adventure. Are you ready? Now let's sing together. Tikkun Olam, repairing the world.
Tikkun Olam, we can answer prayer. Tikkun Olam, with help and hope to share. Tikkun Olam, working to repair the world. Work for justice and work for peace, healing for the nations. Though we're each but one, we are one, caring for creation. Tikkun Olam, we can answer prayer. Tikkun Olam, with help and hope to share. Tikkun Olam, working to repair the world.
A rooster crows in the early light, a soft wind blows away the night. Before the daylark sings, a distant church bell rings. Bong, 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 bong.
community is blessed with a wealth of historical buildings and landmarks throughout Sutton, with the South Sutton Meetinghouse at the heart of the quaint South Sutton village. Such links to earlier times are unusual throughout the towns of modern-day New Hampshire. The Meetinghouse is an exceptionally well-preserved example of a rural church building erected in New Hampshire after 1820. The building was placed on the National Register of Historical Places in 1993 and is under the care of the Sutton Historical Society. Like many aging structures, the Meetinghouse requires maintenance and repair. The Sutton Historical Society was recently awarded a coveted New Hampshire Land and Community Heritage Investment Program grant to help restore our cherished landmark. Your contributions are essential to making the necessary restoration to our historic Meetinghouse. We ask that you contribute to the Society's Stewardship Fund to help restore the Meetinghouse and also to maintain the numerous historical buildings in Sutton that are managed by the Sutton Historical Society. Help us carry on the Sutton Old Home Day tradition for many years to come in our beautiful Meetinghouse on the hill. We hope to see you in person as we all gather together next year for Sutton's Old Home Day tradition.
How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing?